What's going on, everyone? This is Iris, and yes, it has been a long time since I've had the opportunity to say that to you guys. And again, if you guys have seen on Twitter, I'll apologize here real quick, but those of you that do follow me on Twitter, which I suggest all of you do, I had a few issues go on health-wise, just between flu and sinus infection and getting busy at work. Just didn't really have the time to sit down and get a nice little video together and get it out to you guys. So what I decided to do was, besides a lot of the things that are going on in gaming right now, I decided to sit down and I'm going to go into part 2 of the Navy life, because I know a lot of you enjoyed part 1 of this series and were really encouraging me to keep it going. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part 2 out of the way, and then little by little I'll ease my way into the quote-unquote current events that are going on. So getting right into it. So let's pick up. I kind of left off where it was kind of the summer of 1996, and it had been a few months since my mother passed away, and I was on Randall's Island, which is a little island on the East River, right off of Manhattan. It's like between Manhattan and I want to say Long Island City, but Brooklyn, like whatever. You can look on a map. And it used to be where they used to keep a psych ward, like all the crazies in Manhattan, like that's where they would go. And then they kind of closed that down, and now it's kind of like a nice park. There's softball fields, and that year they had Lollapalooza there, and Metallica was headlining it. And a couple of the guys that I was working with at the pool company, so I don't even remember how I got the tickets. I have no idea, but I ended up there. I ended up at Lollapalooza. And keeping in mind, this summer of 96 was very weird for me, because it was my mother had just passed away. I had just ended like a 3-year relationship, so I was kind of like free to do what I wanted, and I kind of took a lot of advantage of that opportunity. So there was a lot of things that I'm probably maybe one day gonna have to answer to somebody about, but ended up at Lollapalooza, and it was a great time, drinking most of the day, in the mosh pits, going crazy. Metallica was awesome as far as I can remember. And at the end of it, it must have been something like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I had to drive one of the guys I worked with home to his house, which was back up in Westchester, which is where I was living at the time. So it was about a 25-30 minute drive. And by the time we got home, it was maybe like I don't even remember what time, but I got to his house, dropped him off. Now, back in the day, I didn't have a cell phone, and all I had was a beeper. So I'm on my way, after dropping my friend off, I'm on my way to my house, which is another like 20-minute drive. And it's a buddy of mine who's in Manhattan at a bar who needed a ride home. So, you know, me being me, I said no problem. I pulled, I get the beep, I give him a call. I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm at this bar. I'm like, all right, I'll be there when I can. So I head on back down to Manhattan. I get to the bar. Now, this bar was a special bar. It was a bar where basically we knew everybody. A lot of the people that worked there, basically everybody that worked there, we knew. We kind of knew the owners, we knew the managers. It was all friends of ours. So it was one of those places you walked in, you throw a 20 back then. You could throw a 20 on the bar, and, you drank for the night, and you kind of owned the place pretty much. So, I can give you the name. It was Bar New York. It was on the east side. It was 90, I want to say like 96th and 2nd or whatever. There was Bar New York, and then 2 doors down was a bar called Ski Bar. So these 2 bars were pretty popular during that summer with my group. So I walk into the bar, I see my buddy, I'm like, all right. He goes, all right, I'm gonna go take a piss, and I'll be right back. I'm like, okay, and I'm exhausted. I've been through Lollapalooza that whole day. I'm not drunk, but I'm kind of like walking hungover. So I'm leaning against the wall, and this girl comes up to me, and she's like, hi, you look very bored. And I was like, well, I've had a long day, I'm tired, I'm just here to pick up my buddy. I mean, now that I look back to it, I was kind of like an asshole to the girl. I was kind of rude, but I from what I remember, I end up saying, look, well, why don't I buy you a drink, whatever. So I walk over to the bar, my buddy's bartender, and I said, look, just get her whatever she wants, whatever. So she was like, can I have your number or something like that? I was like, well, here's my beeper number. She gave me her number, and that was it. End up getting my buddy, because he's a social butterfly. It took another 20 minutes because he had to say goodbye to everybody. End up getting home, and that was that. Slept that night off. So now we're going into the next day, and I think I waited like a day or two. I ended up calling the girl, and we ended up meeting up and hitting it off. And now during this time, I had let her know, look, things are going cool. We dated a few times, went out a couple times to the bars and everything. Everything was going cool, and I said, look, I'm in the Navy. I'm going to be leaving in whenever they tell me I'm going to go. And she was like, all right, well, that's cool, whatever, because I'm going to be going back to school, to college, and all that. I said, all right. So we hung out a lot, and we ended up really, getting attached, and I ended up falling in love with her. And I told her that I loved her, and pretty much told her, like, look, I want to get married to you. I want to, do what we have to do. And I gave her a ring. It was like a little, like, cheap thing, just like a promise ring, if you want to call it like that. I said, listen, I'm going to be leaving for the Navy, but I want you to know that you're my girl. I'm going to stay faithful, this and that. And, she stuck with me, and she was cool with all that. And before you know it, I had a date of when I was leaving, which was like, it ended up being February 10th, 1997. So up until that day, I mean, literally that morning, before I was going, she was, there with me. She was upset. And that was pretty much that night. I ended up getting in a car with the recruiter, and he took me to, where was it? Fort Hamilton. And that's where I started my processing of boot camp. But before I really get into like the boot camp mechanics, I just want to go into like, you guys see on TV like all the time where, people leave and for the military and it's hard and this and that. I mean, this was kind of weird because it was like I had really just met this girl like 6 months before. I literally met her like 6 months before, fell in love, pretty much proposed. We were pretty much engaged when I left, and that was it. I was gone. Like, goodbye. Didn't know when the next time was going to be that I see her. Didn't even know like what she really did at school and anything like that. So it was kind of weird. A lot of things went on. So pretty much what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to get into on the way to boot camp. I'm going to get into the start of boot camp, like what that was like for me. The ride with the recruiter, the flight when we landed, like all the stuff that goes on. Some of you will be able to relate a little bit. I know a lot of things have changed, so anybody who's listening who's like in the military now, like recently, you may not be able to relate a little bit because I know a lot of things changed. A lot's still the same, but a lot of little things have changed just because of the political and social climate that we're in right now. So I want to say I was like the last of the Mohicans to go through a lot of these processes, but because I don't believe the folks that came after me went through a lot of these things, and I'll get into that later on. But guys, that's it for this one. I know it's been a while. I apologize for the break, but I had a really bad bout with a flu and then a sinus infection and just crazy busy at work and just trying to get everything back together. I mean, I even had to like remember how to use a lot of Vegas and Photoshop and all this. I had to like relearn it. And then on top of that, all the things that have been going on with YouTube, it kind of demotivated me a little bit. I mean, a lot of you that'll listen are content creators, and a lot of you haven't been uploading for a while, for various reasons. But it kind of like demotivated me a little bit from really just I was having more fun watching and listening to content creators than it was making it and putting it out there. But I'm gonna get back into it. Those of you that have stayed, I really appreciate it. I think I'm up to like 560 subs now, which is like incredible. I'd like that to get bumped up a little bit, but time will tell. I'm gonna see if I can break this YouTube algorithm and see what we can do. Listen, thanks everyone. I'm gonna put the link to part 1 down in the description. I'm also gonna be creating a playlist where I can keep all of these, so at any time you wanna go back and look at them or share them, that would be great. And if any of you do happen to share my videos, it'd be a great idea to share the playlist, because I heard that's got something to do with the algorithm. Yeah, a lot of weird things I've been learning about the YouTube algorithm. Since I've had time, I've been watching a lot of people who are in the know. Not the normal people like the Keemstars and the, Phil DeFrancos and all those guys, but people who really know the code and know what they're talking about and can prove the results. So that's about it. I think I hit that 10-minute mark, that 10-minute magic mark. Hope you guys enjoyed some of the gameplay if you watched. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary if you were listening. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
day's work.